Look at you.
Look at me. What do I look like?
You look like you've been to Ham Bones and got a free, then went and got your hair cut, and looks like you've been living the dream, baby.
Welcome back to the Unprofessional Working Title Podcast.
Yeah.
My good friend Clint Peak is here from Live the Dream Media, Copper Creek Cookies. And we call him Tammy's manservant.
Yes, sir.
And
hey, and D-Train?
Yes, sir.
Who we got in the meat locker today?
Our good friend Ron Arenas, owner of Picture Rocks Heating, Cooling, Heating, and Plumbing. Alphabetical. Got to remember alphabetical.
Hey, good morning. Good to be here.
Blessed with another week of 105-degree weather in the last week of September.
Always,
God bless you.
Yeah.
So,
hey, what's the phone number out there at Picture Rocks? You've got that on speed dial.
440-4069.
Thank you.
Thank you. PictureRocksCooling.com.
Thank you, Ron.
Now, it's good for Ron, right, for business, but go the hell away, hot weather. I gotta cool it down. We got pumpkin patches to take care of.
Yeah.
I don't need kids falling while they're getting heat stroke while they're picking their pumpkins. It's horse crap.
Yeah.
Literally horse crap.
Yep.
Now, Clinton, since last week we had Ham Bones on, CJ from Ham Bones. Ham Bones. And we had a beautiful ribbon cutting grand opening for CJ. And HambonesTucson.com. He's on Craycroft, just north of the Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. And good stuff, man.
Good stuff. Looked great. Couldn't get out there, but
we had that ribbon slicing, which was very
cool.
fun.
Very cool.
No, I didn't want any of those big goofy scissors things.
Yeah.
So,
hey, congratulations, CJ.
Yeah.
Best of luck to you. I understand Mondays are Thanksgiving Mondays. So,
so Thanksgiving Mondays, basically.
You'll see me on Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays.
There's 5, regular kind of proteins, as we say, or meats, and then every day. And then there's rotating each day. So Monday is either meatloaf or turkey with dressing.
Beautiful.
And then rotating sides for sweet potatoes, green beans with butter, and cranberry sauce.
And he opens at 10, so you can start your...
Yeah, perfect for a morning radio
early.
guy.
Yeah.
And then Tuesday is chicken and dumplings, fried chicken. Wednesday today is chicken fried steak, fried shrimp. Tomorrow is rotating international fare, gives him a chance to kind of stretch a little bit, him and the crew. And then Fridays are fried chicken and fried catfish.
Love it.
And Saturday is roast beef or shrimp and grits.
That's on Saturday?
Saturday. So, Ham Bones.
I don't think there sounds like any bad day to go to Ham Bones.
No, sir. I agree. Again, it's a chef-driven kitchen. God bless you, CJ.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Best of luck, buddy.
Now, you sent me a article this week, and this is something that's near and dear to our hearts.
I don't remember.
Chicago school district in shambles as teachers union thwarts major change that could turn fortunes around. So, Chicago teachers union, where your Cubs are fading fast.
Oh,
are they out?
They're out.
They're out. All right.
Hey, and the White Sox 120 losses, tying an all-time modern era record.
Wow.
So all they have to do is lose one more to be worse than the New York Yankees of 1962.
When you're a major city and your best sports team is your MLS team,
it's embarrassing. Our offensive line is weaker than the border line in Arizona. I saw that. I think that was yours. And the Bulls.
I was sharing that with our good friend Sean McCluskey.
Yeah. We just need to skip forward to spring training. Maybe we make a trade or two off season. It's going to be a long winter in the Windy City.
Maybe the Blackhawks and the Bulls can pull you guys out.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Nice.
Go back to the article because that was so depressing. When I was reading that, I'm like, is there no one at home at the teachers union at all even trying to make? I mean, they can't even support their CEO of the union, who seems to have kind of a plan.
So my thing is that why do teachers unions exist?
Well, don't start.
Well, we have to start.
You tell me. The great, I've said this on this podcast. I've said it in real life for the last 30 years. The great FDR, who created a lot of this unionized stuff, said public unions are a bad idea.
I think it should be illegal, public unions.
I do too.
So
private unions, I'm great. If that's what you feel like you need.
Hey, your guys' mic's on in the meat locker.
What are you guys doing?
Your sweet whisperings are very, very seductive.
Yeah. I'm with you, Chris. I don't see any benefit to it at all.
So
you
why
can
do private unions exist? What's the benefit of a private union? Well, I'm with you on a private union, but why?
Well, we know the starting of it was deplorable conditions and stuff. Although, just to make sure we're telling our history correctly,
yes.
Henry Ford with no union changed the way we do business in factories.
Right.
The 8-hour day, the living wage, all that good stuff. That was Henry Ford non-unionized, by the way. But coal mines, steel mills, things like that.
So good working environment.
Absolutely.
A safe, healthy working environment, and competitive wages.
Yeah.
Does that sound
fair
wages?
Yeah, fair wages.
Right. So here's the thing.
Although my pushback to that right out of the gate is if you don't like the job you're in, go get another one or create one of your own. I know that's oversimplifying it. I get that, but that's just the way I roll.
I'm with you.
But private unions, no problem at all.
So for a union, those two things, right? Safe, healthy working conditions and competitive, fair wages would be the two main reasons.
Yep.
Well, if we could take that standard and approach and we apply it to teachers' unions, they're a failure. They've done neither.
Well, look at the charts. You've seen them. You've seen the charts I'm getting ready to reference. Our education system in the United States in the 60s was at the top globally. The unions gained their power or started gaining their power. I'm talking about the teachers' unions in the mid-60s. You look where we're at now.
No.
We got kids who can't read, we can't write, and yet you responded back to me on this article. The reading proficiency is like double what it is in Sunnyside and Tucson High School. Yeah.
Tucson Unified. Yeah. That's the thing that was really frightening. So they talk about, so what I've seen, because TUSD, Tucson Unified School District, is one of the worst school districts in America here in Tucson. Still the largest. And what I see in this story, I've seen there. And there is an ego about the public school government K-12 people that it's taken them a long time to figure out. They won't say it too publicly that they suck, right? But there's so much money blowing through the place. All right?
There's your problem.
So TUSD has been they're under investigation by the state auditor because they're getting accused of fluffing their attendance numbers in relation to how they get funded from the state. Valerie Cavazos covered that on KOLD, which is a CBS affiliate for our non-Tucson listeners, watchers, viewers, those people. And so what happened was they think there's a comeback somewhere in all of this, right? After they've betrayed the trust of parents and the students and basically have done none of the basics, right? There's definitely some indoctrination as part of this thing, but let's just talk about the basics of education that they're failing at. They think, so like Tucson Unified this is about empty schools. Right, because the teachers union in Chicago
basically abandoned schools. Is what we're talking about.
They want to close empty/failing public schools. Right, despite experts calling for closures and consolidations, the union is attempting to block this.
Not only do they want to block it, but they want to reinvest in these schools that have no children in them.
Correct.
No students are there, but we got to refurbish these bad boys.
Well, let me give you one example again. I keep bringing it. Santa Rita High School, east side of Tucson. Built for 2,000 students, has 240 in it. Well, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? That's a joke. So,
wow. I didn't know that number.
That's
Chris,
why
thanks for sharing that.
That's why I don't have a football team anymore if they don't have enough students.
That's crazy.
What they do is, like, there's certain empty schools that a charter school that's killing it would like to buy the school from them. The ego in them... If in the school board members and the bureaucracy this is a loss. This is we're admitting failure if we sell a school, but we can have it empty. And in places like Tucson, it'll soon later the outside gets totally infested with fentanyl heads and all of this other stuff, right? So instead of saying here's the money and let's concentrate on what we got and make it better, they say we're going to hold on to empty schools, right? They do it all the time, and so that's. So when you showed me this, so here's the best part. So they've had a debilitating 26% drop over 2 decades in enrollment. Okay. TUSD in Tucson went from 40, no, they were more than that. they're close to 55,000. They're at 34 to 35,000. Their percentage is even bigger. Okay.
That's a third.
So they were talking about reading levels. This is what you brought up to me in this discussion, right?
26, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like 26%. Okay.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're sitting there going, let's see. No work here. All right, so here we go. We had, they also talk about there's been a 50% drop in black student attendance. That's 115,000 kids.
Yeah.
And they're running towards private and charter schools, right? The other thing is, when we talk about reading levels, on the 2023% test, just 26% of Chicago 3rd through 8th graders could read at grade level. That is better than Tucson Unified and Sunnyside School District in Tucson, and these guys are maligning it. Now, Marana, Tom Carlson was on Wake Up Tucson like about a month and a half ago. Before they changed their tune on reading, they were 4% of 3rd graders were reading at level. 4?
What?
4. So they admitted they were doing it wrong, changed the phonics and other things instead of the sight word crap and whatever. So after a year, they're at 30%. Okay. So, but Marana.
That's 3rd graders.
Yes. So, and if you're a 3rd grader and you're not reading at level by 3rd grade, you have challenges.
You're cooked.
I mean, I don't know if this is real, but they always, the line is that the people that build prisons.
Right. I've
look
heard
at
that
third grade reading levels to determine the future.
Yeah. You know, first off, where are the parents at on all this? I mean, I really have to. I mean, they're the stakeholders in this. It's their children. I mean, I'm going to look right into parents and go, why are you accepting this? That's number one. Number two, where are the administrators on this? And we've heard administrators admit they hadn't checked anything for 20 years. I mean, are you kidding me right now?
So
you know who I really, I mean,
yes.
to a degree, who I really have a lot of empathy for is a lot of these teachers are getting screwed from both ends. And I hate to say it so bluntly, but the parents aren't supporting them. The administrations aren't supporting them. The teachers, where do they go? To the union? They're not supporting them.
And also not supporting teachers from the administrative side is there's some crappy teachers that continue to teach.
Exactly. How would you like that? You're there. You're wanting to teach little Johnny, little Debbie, right?
Yep.
They're in the 3rd grade, and you're. I like that. Good call. And you're getting no support from the parents, or limited. You're getting no support from the union, and you're getting no support from your administration. And crappy teachers who have done, in some cases, some really bad stuff beyond just being crappy teachers are allowed to just continue to teach.
In the end, it's funny. I know I can say bad words here, but I don't want to say bad words.
Yeah.
Crappy school boards.
Yeah.
In the end, it's
I think that's kind of got to be it, hasn't it?
It is, because think about it. So no one likes to run for office.
Yeah.
It's a horrible.
And you don't want to be a school board member. That's like the bottom. That's the bottom feeders of elected officials. Fair enough.
Well, I
don't mean to disperse.
So I don't. It's the bottom. I if I say so. It's the lowest.
The least sexy. How about that?
No, that's true. It's the lowest glamour job in elected
school board.
officials.
Really, I've got higher aspirations.
So I've told people who are in the politics locally in the Republican Party, if you're not running, I said this to the Libertarians also. I go, why don't you go run school board districts? Start school board candidates.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right.
If you're not so, and we saw this during COVID, right? Right. They screwed up all these kids' lives because we have bad people on school boards.
Here was already horrible.
Right.
We can't read. And now we've had 4 years of this nonsense that we can't recover. Hey, look.
So during COVID, all these moms were yelling at the school board members, right? Which is fine. Good. Go get them.
Yeah.
But it's not like we changed out the school board.
Recent article. No, we didn't. We keep reelecting the same people to the school board because no one wants that job.
So I'm telling you, man, the last Amphi election, 1 or 2 people got on the board without an election.
Yeah.
Because there were 2 seats and only 2 5. They just had to get like 100 signatures to get on the ballot.
Marana.
Yep.
You got at least one person that got on there for sure.
Yep.
Because there was no one running. Now there's a little. I think there's.
I'll get you who you.
Yeah, I know some of the candidates. They're wonderful people. David Willard, I'm going to shout him out.
Michaela is another one you got to vote for.
Yeah.
So,
guys, this whole education thing has a bigger picture too, because in a vibrant community, you need to have a good education to draw people that want to come work here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're a professional with a young family, you're going to look at that. How's the education to a place where I'm moving?
No, it's true. I was just sitting at the St. Odelia pancake breakfast, and our family just sat at a table. It was with this mom and her two little kids, and they just moved here from Texas. And they said, you know something? We almost didn't move here because he got a great job offer.
Yeah.
Right? But the schools are just she's a mom who did her research.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like, so they ended up at the Lehman Academy of Excellence, which is a good place to go. But they're like, man, she's like, Amphi is a train wreck.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned it off camera, and this is the perfect time to bring that back in, is there was another article this week. I read it out of a Phoenix. I don't remember which one of the TV stations there. Arizona's 51st out of 51. And here we go again. And you know who they're blaming all the? I knew what I was going to find before I read it. It's been that way, by the way. I've been in Arizona since 1988. We've always been at the bottom. They blamed it on money, which that's certainly a part of it. They blamed it on money, and that's certainly a part of it, but that's not all of it, because just above us, Washington, D.C., spends the most per capita, and they're at 50.
Correct.
So I would argue money is definitely important, but it's not the most important.
So,
you know what they blamed?
What?
They blamed the ESA. We were supposed to, it's funded for 7,000.
Empowerment scholarships accounts.
Now there's 80,000, so they're stealing money from, and I'm like, you guys can't do basic math.
So
you're saving $9,000 a year on every kid that's picking up the ESA.
Amen. I've had multiple experts now on Wake Up Tucson explain that is an absolute untruth, that ESAs hurt public school funding.
It's math.
Yes.
Basic math, third grade math. If you know how to do third grade math, you take, what is it, roughly 16,000. You subtract 7,000. You're left with 9,000 surplus on every kid that chose, parent in this case, because kids aren't choosing, chose the empowerment scholarship account.
It's a savings for Arizona.
Absolutely. If we want to save a lot of money for education, every kid should use this option. We'll save billions in education, and you know what? I'll bet you money our kids will be able to read.
So I have this,
and we'll be able to do it for half the price cost that we're doing right now.
I have these fights with, as you know, you see on my Wastebook page, Christopher DeSimone for the finest of waste booking. I make fun of chambers of commerce and Southern Arizona leadership councils because years ago it was determined that Tucson not only has a crappy public sector leadership but also the private sector leadership. So the people that I could criticize now in chambers of commerce, you're not you're not like new at sucking. You're just continuing the tradition of sucking, okay? But they always say workforce development.
Yep.
Right? So to me that has two connotations, right? So you're talking about workforce. If we have the right workforce, the businesses will come. Mm-hmm. Well, why is Casa Grande kicking our ass? Mm-hmm. They don't have any workforce development going on in Casa Grande.
They're just building new factories every day.
There's space, right? And there's a business-friendly government, okay? So when I hear workforce development in Tucson, it is an absolute look at the bunny moment. Look over here. We're not going to deal with all the things that we need to do to make this a great place for entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Right? So when we talk about workforce development, you can't have that conversation with me seriously because all these organizations do nothing about the K through 12 problem in this town. They're not supporting candidates. They're not running candidates. They're not saying, hey, could you how about, it would be great for workforce. Let's say we buy the word workforce development, okay? And you say, look, as part of our workforce development, we would like all third graders in the Tucson region, 50%, to be reading at level.
Right.
They don't say that either.
No.
Right? So they say workforce development because it's the nicest way for them to talk about something with economic development without criticizing the dodos that run the place. Right? So a good friend of mine, he's a really good economic development guy in the Denver area where there's lots of stuff going on in Denver. And he says that at the table, when anyone leads with workforce development, you're immediately ignored.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you kindly leave the room? We're having a serious discussion here.
So then we have occupational training, right? And that vocational training, right? Ron Arenas is here, for goodness sakes. HVAC, right? He's always looking for good HVAC people at Picture Rock Schooling.
They know how to read.
Right?
They know how to read.
They got to read, though.
That's true, yep.
Right? Doesn't Ron, don't you have to, and part of HVAC, don't you have to be able to read a damn manual once in a while and things
you
like
have
that?
to read. Yeah, definitely. That's one of the skills that we require.
Right. But if a kid can't read at third grade level and somehow he's like, hey, Ron, I'd like to help put in a $27,000 air conditioning at this company. You're like, can you read? What? What's owner's manual
guys,
say? That's manual, not manual.
I've said this before. I'll say it again. My kids moved to Boise. You know why? There's the opportunities here they're not. Boise's kicking our butt.
Yeah.
Half the size of the population of Pima County. David and I've had this conversation numerous times. I've talked about it. I lived in Phoenix for a number of years. Love Phoenix. A little too hot and a little too busy for me as I've gotten older. But Phoenix is still killing it. You go up to Gilbert, you go up to Queen Creek, you go to Chandler, you go to Phoenix. Yeah, there's some rough spots in there, but they're killing it. And they've been killing it for 30, 40 years.
Yep.
And you know what? They're no smarter than us, and they're no less corrupt in many cases. They're leaders, but they're not dummies. They realize that if we're going to be successful, we got to do some things right. I don't know how their education system is up there.
It's okay,
but they're better at all the other stuff.
But they're also at the last 20 years that they are even though we've gotten them down here, that Phoenix area is one of the country's leaders in charter schools.
Absolutely.
Right. And there's some of these charter schools are so big that they're now playing in sports leagues against the regular K-12s.
Yep.
Right. That Great American Leadership one, or there's the other Hearts one or whatever. Right. So they're doing up there, even though it's hot as hell.
Yeah. 112 this week.
All right.
Here we are, the last week of September.
But here we go. So parks are nice.
Yep.
Roads are great.
You know what? When we first moved there, and that was, again, a long time ago, it's still that way now, you can't really tell a rough part of town, especially in the daytime. You know why? Everything's clean.
Yep.
There's a couple of places that are a little less.
There's parts of the city of Phoenix
there's
that
little
have
pockets
some
now.
spots, right? But everything outside
drive
of there,
around. Just drive. Anybody that knows Phoenix knows I'm speaking the truth.
Yep.
You just drive around town. Yeah, you kind of know areas. You're like, oh, yeah, this is a little rough right here. This is a little rough. You can tell. But by and large, this massive, sprawling community. The roads are clean. The roads are, you can drive on them without tearing your car up.
Yep.
It's clean. It's pristine. The roads are kept clean. There's no weeds anywhere.
So I'd like to say, to put a bow on this one, when it comes to how do I fix my school district, Chris, right? It's really simple, but it's not easy.
Real simple.
I need a majority of your school board to gets it, and that will hire a good superintendent and hold them accountable. And part of that holding them accountable is the superintendent will hire good principals.
Yep.
And let them control their school.
Yeah.
Give them the freedom to do their school and stop dickering from above. If you do that, you'll be on the road to a decent school
district. I'm
district.
going to shout out a good one. And David's a part of something now. LTD is Live the Dream Media is a part of something now that Dan Streeter over here at Marana High School, or Marana Unified School District, is really doing some innovative stuff.
Well, the reading thing is.
He's doing some
one.
really, really innovative stuff over there, and so we got to support that. That's one of the reasons why Marana's probably growing.
You said the word "live the dream."
Yeah,
I heard. I don't know if this is true or not.
It's a true story, I believe.
You guys, we have an app.
We
now?
have an app.
Wow, tell me about this app.
Yeah, the app.
Is it? So is this in the Google Play and the Apple
it's in the
Store?
App Store. Go get it. It's free.
What can I do with this app?
Yeah, well, you can do anything that we do over here. You can watch podcasts. You can go back and check our website out. You can go to all of our social. And in our first week of existence, we've got, last check, 517 people have downloaded the app this week.
Beautiful. All right.
And so you can get all the Working Title podcast are on there. You can.
Is there music on there?
There's music 24/7.
Oh, that's weird.
If we're not, and you know what? We're waiting for your playlist.
Oh my God.
And we got. Hey, if you don't like the song that's playing right now, Well, it's not playing right now because we're on right now. But if you don't like the song that's playing, wait a minute. Something new is going to pop up. We've got all of us.
How do I submit songs to you from my side?
There's a spot on there.
Oh, all right.
Well, we'll take yours and mass import them. But any listener, there's a spot to request music, and so we'll play your songs too.
I love it.
It's pretty intensive. Yeah,
I got some 17-minute prog rock songs to send your way.
Yeah, I listen to it most of the day. It's a lot of it's my stuff, so of course I'm going to listen to it.
All right,
and it would surprise you which stuff are mine. Thanks for shouting that out. Hey, go to any apps, wherever you get your apps, any app store, and download the Live the Dream Media app.
Love it.
We're on there right now.
What the hell?
24/7.
I feel so apt right now.
And I gotta shout David Samorano. The guy is a guru. He's a genius. He made this. They told us we couldn't do it.
This sounds like
we kept getting kicked back. We kept getting kicked out, and that guy was just, I'm gonna make this happen.
Oh, that's perfect that they said he couldn't do it because this sounds like a Modelo commercial, right? That dramatic music, right? Yeah. David Samorano was told you can't do it, and he's walking around in slow motion with a Modelo, and he's doing the big smile at the barbecue.
Watch this,
and he's like, when he's got his phone, he's like, you see this?
Yeah.
David Samorano developed the Live the Dream Media app. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And you know what's cool? As we grow this thing out, we can have multiple channels, which is really cool. Yeah, we can have multiple channels. We can have the Chris's favorite all-time hits playing 24/7. So we can have a Clint channel.
So you told me that if someone's watching us right now and they want to interact with us, one day, I don't know if it's going to happen, it's happening now, but they can literally click in, and then instead of like a phone call at a radio station, they literally pop up on the screen.
Exactly. That is a fact. Matter of fact, we can do that now.
Wow.
We've done that several times. We had Veronica on last week or week before. I can't remember. Her guest was remote. It was really cool.
And they use the app?
And they use the app. It was
all
really
right.
cool.
So if you download the app, you can literally interact with a show where you show up, you hold your camera, and you can talk to us, and we get to see you.
David knows the technical part of that, so I don't want to get out of my lane here.
So let me do technical. You get it on the phone, and there's like a hole in it. You take a wire, and you just keep shoving it in, and then crap happens. So it's beautiful. All right. Next.
Hey,
yes.
Go ahead. What next? Next
one?
No,
what were you going to say?
No.
All right. So I love the Babylon Bee.
Yeah.
Right? They do the satirical Christian kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And they have what they call the Not the Bee, which is like real stories. Yeah. Right? There's the Babylon Bee, and then there's Not the Bee. Okay? And so I like this one a little bit. Just I thought it was just food for thought. It's called Encouragement for the Normies in the Midst of the Silly Election Season. Okay? So he goes... offered a little calming encouragement for my fellow Christians who feel particularly anxious during this election season. I'd like to do something similar for those who may not be believers, but who are, just kind of normal folk. Mm-hmm. You aren't alone. There are, in fact, many of us who are counting the days until November 5th is in the rearview mirror.
Amen. 41 days.
It's not like we don't care about the outcome of elections. We do. Mm-hmm. It's not that we're indifferent about our future and the country we'll be handing off to our children. We are not. It's not that we don't agree there are a great number of pressing issues that need to be addressing. We do. We just realize a few things that our excitable, overwrought, high-strung countrymen seem to forget every 2 to 4 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass them by you. Number one, all those things that we care about are not best dealt with through national elections and the bureaucratic state.
Fact. Isn't that the truth?
Right. The things that are really affecting you more are in your backyard.
Always.
We just talked about non-sexy school board elections. Yeah. This speaks to that.
Yeah.
Right? Rex Scott and the folks at the Board of Supervisors are crushing you way more than whatever's going on in D.C.
Absolutely.
Right? So, we're in Marana. Dave lives in Marana. We live in the OV. But it's the idea that we have places that take care of their stuff, our stuff.
Yep.
Counts.
Yep.
Crap counts.
Yep.
Number two, that whether this really is, quote, the most important election of our lifetime, unquote, won't be known until future generations look back in the history books, and the chances are that it won't be.
Hey, I've been watching elections since probably aware of them since the 1968 would be the first one I can really remember.
Right.
Every election since 1968 has been the most important election, and I'm counting the in-between ones too. This is the most important election of our lifetime. And it kind of is because it's the only one we're dealing with, so it kind of makes sense.
Sure.
But yeah, that's just hype more than anything
What
else.
I see is we're on the knife's edge, right? Where due to the using COVID as an excuse, we have spent so much money. Printed, borrowed, crappy money that has hyperinflated everything.
Everything, exactly.
And we've restricted the way we do domestic energy production.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can watch it.
Chris, you just nailed it.
Yes, sir.
That's where we're at. That's exactly there was a lot of other factors that led into it, but the crazy things we did through the COVID thing with the spending of the money and all the out of control stuff and neglecting our children, printing and borrowing money that we didn't have. That you just summed up why we're at where we're at. Now there's way more to it than that, but that's why we're at where we're at right now.
That's kind of the bulk of where we're at, right? So, as our friend Congressman Schweikert says, look at the budget.
Yeah,
we're borrowing trillions of dollars, right? And we are we go crazy about the who's in Congress, right? We talk about the budget in Congress. I think David said that right now voting in Congress on the discretionary income, not the mandated budget stuff, you're only fighting over 20% of the budget.
Yeah.
The rest is Social Security, Medicare, Obamacare, and interest on debt, which is 80% of the budget right now.
That from a federal standpoint. That's why the local elections are even more important.
Yes.
And the state elections are more important. We've got to do a better and when I say we, I mean from the conservative standpoint, we've got to control the House and the Senate in the state of Arizona because a lot of stuff is
so all of you that are going crazy on the national stuff. If the Democrats take over the state legislature, they're going to crush the academic freedom to get us away from bad K through. Not just us. I mean, our kids are old enough now, but grandkids and also here's the thing. There's lots of parents who they're not paying attention. They're just ignorant, right?
Well, they're part of the system that's been around for
ignorant
years.
citizens is kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
Number 3, that the individuals leading the two political parties and commanding the top of their presidential tickets are cartoonish characters who, once elected, will be little more than a hood ornament for the administrative state. What do you think of that one?
I like it. That's pretty accurate.
Right.
Hey, we're 41 days out? 40 days out, depending on how you do the math, if you count the day. I'd take two new candidates right now if somebody wanted to do that, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I was a Rand DeSantis guy, as you guys know. So anyway, I just thought it was an interesting perspective talking about the national stuff, right? And all of the
which
mania.
Gets all the hype.
Right.
By the way, we don't talk about the local stuff for the school board because right now I'm guilty. I'm sitting here right now and I only know 3 candidates for the Marana School Board. And I don't know any of them that's running, either for re-election or for election. And I'm going to confess that I don't know any running for Amphi right now.
I don't know if anyone's running for Amphi. How's that for crazy?
Yeah,
we got to double check that.
There's no names that come out. Willard and I can't think of the lady's name, but you mentioned it. And
Michaela.
And then the kid Holt, I think is his last name.
Holt's a train wreck.
Yeah.
Stay away from
Well, he
Holt.
got in because no one was running.
Yeah, he's a train wreck.
And now he's got a buddy running with him.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he's recruited one of his buddies to run.
That guy embarrassed himself during the COVID years.
Yeah.
So he needs to go.
You know, my only take on him is he's a kid. He just I'll give him a pass. He just doesn't know any better. He's basically right out of high school.
Don't waste their time.
Yeah.
That's too important.
Yeah.
And if Marana wants to be a community of excellence.
Is that on him though, Chris? He ran because there was nobody running. He was winner by default.
His bad decisions are on him.
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
But the other 64,000 people that live in Marana, that's on you, buddy.
So I've told this to Mayor Ed and folks in power in Marana. If you don't fix Marana School District,
you're screwed.
You're screwed.
You're done. You're done.
Because Lehman can't handle everything if you're in a growing community that's heading towards
And you think
Pinal.
about what you just said. Here's a community that started basically 100 years ago, give or take, that a lot of these peoples, the pioneers that showed up in Marana when it was just rock and dirt and basically nothing else out there, and the families that showed up that now the second, third, fourth generation are benefiting from $200,000 an acre in some places out there.
Yep.
That was free when their parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents showed up. And it ran pretty well, and everybody supported each other. And I've been around for 40 years or close to it and know that community. And now we're going to lose it, that bedrock mentality and value and friendship and neighborship with each other. We're going to lose it in 1 or 2 election cycles. So shame on a whole bunch of people.
So the SWOT analysis on strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threats. The threat is you could lose a really good council in another election or two, right? And the school district needs to get stronger.
Yeah. I'm talking to a lot of people right now about 28. I mean, 26 is going to come and go so quick, but I'm talking to a mutual friend of ours just the other day.
I got some off-air stuff on this.
And I know he was a mutual friend of yours because him and your brother, according to the mayor, were at the same event yesterday. So I know you know this cat. Hey, what else you got, Chris? Because I got one thing for you. I just got one thing.
I'm good. So
I got one thing. Hey, Chris always teases me. We play around, and I'm Betty White. No, I wasn't Betty White. I was
you were Rue McClanahan.
Rue McClanahan, and I'm Princess Margaret.
Porky Pig?
Princess Margaret.
Were you Porky Pig?
No.
He was Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck. That's right. Thank you, sir.
Princess, what's her name?
Princess Kate. Weren't you
Princess Kate?
Were you Kate Middleton, I think?
Yeah, he's been doing this stuff but I got one. I saw this and then I lost it, so I had to rebuild it myself I just rebuilt it.
So this is called Clint's Revenge?
This is Clint's Revenge. And you know what? Here's the thing. I've got 14 things listed here. They're basically one-word descriptions. One of them's a little bit longer than that, but I think you're probably going to get this by the second or third. And this is a movie. This is a movie.
Fascinated.
And I think you'll get this really, really quick.
Yes.
And I'm going to give you just a few words here, and we'll see how long it takes you to get. I won't be giving you the answer. You're going to give me the answer.
You're going to give me these different clues, and I'm supposed to name the movie?
Yeah, you're going to name the movie.
Go.
And I'm thinking, my handicap on this is 3.5. I don't think we'll go to 4, but we might.
This is a lot of pressure on me when I go to 9.
Yeah. You're not going to make it to 9. If you make it to 9, that will be the deciding factor. Okay, movie.
Yes, sir.
And then I want to talk about something else a little bit.
Okay.
And this kind of leads into it.
I got 90 minutes to my Manchester United game, so yes.
Okay. New York.
Godfather. All right, let's go. What's the next one?
Okay, here they were. New York, Vegas, family, baptism, wedding, orange, cannoli, 1940s, Omerta, Horsehead, offer, toll booth, Don, picture of the year 1972.
I feel like this is some sort of profiling.
Yeah.
DeSimone's got to be a Godfather guy.
Yeah. Well, and I'm a Godfather fan, so.
I'm telling everyone, I know this is tough for a lot of you. On Amazon, I bet it's about no more than $10. Buy the book, The Godfather.
Absolutely.
The movie's great. It's one of the greatest movies ever made.
You can download it. It's
right.
If you want to save the $10, I've got an app that's got The Godfather on it, the full thing.
Yeah, Mario Puzo, The Godfather. Just read it.
Great
it's
book.
Better than the movie.
It is. I agree.
Because it's got more depth to it.
Exactly.
Right. All of these characters in it, whether it's every one of them, Mo Green down that Neary, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Right, Al. What happens is before he leads them into the story, you literally get like a chapter or so of their background on how they got to that point in the story. Yeah. So you have and Luca Brasi and all these guys all have this background given to them. So when you go back and watch the movie, it's even better.
Do you know why Puzo wrote the book, The Godfather?
He was broke.
He was broke, and he was worse than broke. He was in debt to the bookies. And he's like, I'll do it. Okay, I'll do this. But Coppola changed a lot of the to get it on the screen, and in a good way. I don't think he hurt the book.
No,
he just
you gotta keep it
had
moving.
to make some. He had to make some concessions.
I feel like there's other books that have been written because the guy was a guy or girl was in debt. I feel like Christmas Carol was the same way with Charles Dickens.
Hey, so the reason why I came up with that one, and I knew you'd get, like I say, I didn't know if you'd get it on the first one.
It was either New York. When you said New York, I was like, is it Godfather or Muppets Take Manhattan? I wasn't sure. I was going to say Muppets Take Manhattan.
And then you looked across the table and went, yeah, no, Muppets Take, yeah. So here's something.
You know what Muppet you? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So I got to do a Muppet test for you.
So here's what I was thinking this week, and I've thought this a couple times. We've talked a lot about Southern Illinois and Opdyke, Illinois, and all that stuff.
Salukis.
Yeah. SIU. That's where yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up.
Oh my Lord!
You know, I mean, you don't have to give us. You can give us the Reader's Digest version, but where's D Train? Where D Train?
Wow. Yeah. I was born in Nassau County, Long Island, and one of two boys. My brother Joe, he's been on the podcast with me before, and he's about 3.5 years older than me. And basically, I lived in suburbia of New York, but I spent a lot of time in the New York City area because my dad owned a wholesale food import business with his cousins and partners in Brooklyn.
So you were born in Long Island.
Yeah.
What's the population when you were born there? Because you were
the
born
county that I lived in was 2 million at the time. The town that I was in, this little town called Williston Park, which is next to Mineola. People will know Mineola more. It was a incorporated village officially of 8,000.
Okay.
And so my dad was a partner in this business that we had 4 big warehouses in Brooklyn. It's part of this thing called the Brooklyn Terminal Market, which really existed because it was near JFK Airport.
Okay.
And it was easy, the idea that goods and stuff that were coming off of the planes would go there first.
So people can understand, and I've been there a time or two, but the distance from where you lived and where your dad worked was
probably a 35 to 40 minute car ride based on traffic.
Okay. And he drove as opposed to taking public transportation?
Every morning, because he had because their clientele had businesses that opened up early because they were grocery stores or restaurants. Those guys and mostly guys in those days that owned those places, a lot of them came shopping early before their place opened. So they were open at 5 in the morning where my dad worked.
To accommodate the 7 o'clock openings.
So I'm the second DeSimone in the family that wakes up at 3:45 every morning to do a radio show, but he was doing it, and so they were open 6 days a week. He had Tuesdays off and Tuesdays and Sundays off, but Saturdays were open, shorter hours. And my brother Joe and I used to spend a lot of time working with him on Saturdays or during the summer.
Especially when you got to be, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old?
But more like 10, 11 kind of thing.
A 6-year-old would be in the way at a warehouse, would be my guess.
But that was a great experience. Also, customer service-wise, because you're dealing with customers, but you had all these goods from all over the world, right? So we did domestic, where if you owned a grocery store and you wanted Jiffy corn mix, toilet paper, whatever, we had all of that by the case. But we imported retail, meats, cheeses, olive oil from all over the Mediterranean, and candy. So I grew up with the best ingredients. So part of my foodieism probably so kids that were eating that Oscar Mayer crap on their sandwiches. DeSimone was hand cut soppressata salami from Italy on good Italian bread.
Yeah,
that was my go-to. Right, I'd hand carve that, a little olive oil, little oregano, and I was a happy kid in those days.
So Dad's doing this with his cousins.
Yeah.
How many?
There's probably partner-wise 4 or 5 of them all together. And, the place also was really, like at Christmas time, all the Italians came out of everywhere to get all their stuff for Christmas food. Right? It was like, there's that whole thing in like, back to A Christmas Carol, where they talk about there's a scene where all these people are out buying their stuff for Christmas. We had that at the market, but it was like the Goomba version.
Yeah.
So we had olives in jars, but actually we had olives that came in barrels. So you'd say, hey, I'd like whatever, I want 2 pounds of Gaeta olives. We'd actually have a big metal scoop, drain it, put it in a bag.
So,
that's how we did it.
So the name of the town where you actually grew up was
Williston Park.
Williston
it was called.
Park.
It was classic Long Island suburbia. My parents moved there in the mid '60s,
and you were born in the early '70s.
Yes.
And so was there separation between you and other towns? Was there a little gap between you, or
not much?
Was it pretty much all as it is now? Just everything ran together.
Pretty much ran together. There was some separation.
So it was small, but it wasn't small.
Correct. Well, because
8,000 live here, but there's 2 million here.
There's some truth to that. There was some separation throughout the whole. It was called Nassau County, still called Nassau County.
Yeah.
But where I lived, you were surrounded by towns that were exactly like your town.
Exactly.
Right. There was New Hyde Park. There was Searingtown. There was East Williston. There was Mineola. And in those days, of course, we've talked about this over. It sounds like we're just a bunch of old farts talking about memories, right? But I could ride my bike anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And mine was the same, except there was a little gap between these, and everything was much smaller.
Yeah.
It's not 8,000, it's 800 if you had a fair-sized town. But then there would be 2 or 3 miles of open space in between each one of these towns.
So I think part of my
similarities.
Part of my attitude is growing up with a father who was a business owner.
Yeah.
That you see in Wake Up Tucson and what we talk about every day.
That's part of why I think you and I jive, because my dad was not a business owner.
Right.
My dad was a minister and worked in factories and stuff, but my mom was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
From way back.
It's a different attitude.
I think that's probably why, we like each other for a lot of other reasons, I think, but I think that's part of the reason is, I've told the story. I grew up kind of like you did in the grocery store my mom owned. My parents owned it, but working in there as a child. 10, 11 years old,
The thing that was not shock, but just an adjustment coming to Arizona, because I came between my junior and senior years to Arizona. I grew up in a truly, and none of us knew, none of us talked about it. You want to talk about a truly organic, diverse community. I grew up in it. And I grew up with people from all over the planet.
Yeah.
Right. As a Roman Catholic, there was definitely a lot of Roman Catholics bouncing around. But I was one of, if you looked at my lunch table.
Yeah.
Right. If you looked at my lunch table, there was my buddy Bernard Su, HSU, whose family was here from Taiwan.
Yeah.
Right. And he was some sort of Taoist. And then there was Hassan Rahim, who was a Muslim from Pakistan.
Yeah.
Right. And then there was buddies of mine that were Jewish. Right. And then there was a couple other Roman Catholics. White Protestants were rare.
Yeah.
Right. But I grew up.
They all lived in Updike, Illinois.
Right. Right. So I grew up with everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when I came out to Arizona, it was really boring.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But also, I think I think it probably stoked my interest in, when I talk about comparative religions and things like that with my Joseph Campbell guy. That would probably born of growing up with all these different faith traditions. And none of us ever said, "Oh, you're that." We never thought like that.
No.
I never said, "Oh, you're Jewish" or "You're blah blah blah," and that never came. You're Hassan. You're Mike. You're Joe. You're Bernard.
I think that's from the era
that's where I grew up.
Even though it was black and white where I was at, literally, that was it. As a child, it was white.
Yep.
No, it was black and white. Then it was white. And then it was black and white. Until college, there was, you just didn't interact with people outside of your faith or the black and white. That was just it. You go to college, now that's international.
But that's why I love where I grew up. Because
you and I have to go to New York.
I grew up all together. I grew up with everything.
I love going to New York. Haven't been there in a while. I love going to New York. I love going right downtown. I like being. Believe it or not, I love the shows and stuff.
Sure.
You wouldn't think I probably would, but I love them. The Radio City Music Hall just blows me. Have you seen the Christmas one?
I have. As a kid.
Is that unbelievable?
It's amazing. Well, they used to show, they used to show movies there. So I remember we went with my mom. We see a movie first, and then there was the Christmas Spectacular.
They kind of drug me there, I'll go and I'm like, can we stay? I mean,
The other
this
thing
is
that was a
phenomenal.
blessing, and it was just a coincidence, the public high school, the school district that I went to was called Herrick's, Herricks, and Herrick's school district was one of the best school districts you could be in the entire state. Academic performance, rocking and rolling.
So they had an awesome school board. Then is what you're telling me.
They did, but also so this school district was so good that when my parents sold the house, because there was no open enrollment in those days,
Right.
everyone was dying to be in our school district. I bet they got a 40% kicker of what they got because of the school district.
That's awesome.
All right,
that's awesome.
but here's the interesting
See
thing.
how important your schools are, people.
So here, this is something that I've never seen out here, and this is after the discussion we just had about the Chicago's Teachers Union. Check this out, dudes and dudettes. The school district that me and my brother went to in New York was established in the early 60s as a union-free school district.
Really?
So it was the bylaws and charter of the school district was no teachers unions ever.
Wow.
And we turned out to be the best.
Was that a rarity in that? Do you know?
I don't know. It's something I'd look into, but I mean,
that's when the unions really started. Like
everything official said, Herrick's Union Free School District. That was the title of our school district.
You need to do a little deep dive on that because that'd be interesting to find out if that was like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a one-off, or was
That's true.
Like,
no, you're right.
Was that area trying to be more?
So I will tell you this: when I went to Sabino High School for my senior year, and then Northern Arizona University for college, I would tell you that my high school in New York was tougher than both. Mm-hmm. So one of my kids, she's a smarty pants. She's really good. Both my kids are smart, but she's academically a monster. And she'll tell you that basis.
I knew you were going to.
Basis junior high
was tougher in college.
Tougher than NAU.
Yeah. Kind of as it should be, though. Fair enough.
I'm just saying.
If you're gonna lay a foundation, you want a strong foundation.
So that's kind of my thing. Grew up, my mom was the super mom. She was great. And what was great about my mom, yes, she was the classic Italian mother, right? But what happened was she was also a very strong personality herself. She was not the subservient Italian mom kind of thing that was always just worried about shoving food down your throat.
Right.
Now, her and my dad were both great cooks.
Yeah.
And that's probably why I love to cook is from both of them, right? But she was the oldest of two. And she was always fighting the stereotype of you should just go get
get married and have kids.
So her job before she met my dad, and she was an assistant to one of the VPs of Saks Fifth Avenue. My mom, and then she got back into that when we were a little older. And then what happened was she became a Century 21 real estate agent probably when I got to middle school. And then she was actually one of the reasons we even found Tucson and whatever.
Because she
came out west for her. She was $1 million roundtable girl.
Hey, your mom and I have something in common.
What's that?
I wore the Go jacket too.
See, there we go. Right. And so that's also part of my upbringing and the way I am. I really have almost like two entrepreneurial kind of folks for parents. I had a brother who was 3.5 years older than me. That we always got along, but he, when it came to sports, he was always beating my ass into the ground, which was great because I learned how to overcome.
Right.
And he wasn't doing it in a mean way. I'm just saying.
No.
He's beating me in wiffle ball, stick ball, basketball. The amount of one-on-one battles we've had in the backyard basketball court. But you know something? What happened was when I started competing against people my own age, they were easy.
Hey, I'm the older brother. Your story is reversed for me.
Yeah.
I remember the first time my brother, who's not that much younger than I am, but he's younger. He got bigger, stronger, and he would beat me. I'm like, when did this happen?
Yeah.
About 16, 17.
So also my brother was really cool because he would involve me with stuff with his friends. So like so when I was playing, like I was like 14 and he was 17 at the time, and we'd go play hoops at at one of the bigger public parks.
So you're playing with,
I would play with him and his
young
friends.
Men.
And so when I got to people who were 14, I'm like, oh, you're small. Right? You're not as fast.
Yeah.
You're not as strong.
Yeah.
Right? Because the difference between a 14-year-old and a 17-year-old is huge.
Yeah.
So, what other questions you want to ask about my storied past?
You know what?
No convictions.
That's a good. Yeah. I got asked one time. You look familiar. I said, what do you do there? Like we're patrol or what's not patrol. Parole officers. I'm like, yeah, you guys never caught me.
Love it.
Yeah.
I would never trade growing up the way I grew up and where I grew up.
Me neither.
It was such a really
not the parents, not the location, not the way, and yet we've talked about this numerous. Or I have with you, the differences in how we grew up, as far as location.
Yeah.
Yet when you tell your story, and that's the first time I've heard it more in its entirety, or more involved. There's a lot of similarities. We had Raul had Andy Lopez in here last Friday.
Yeah.
And as he's telling his stories, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of. Again, he grew up. His parents are from Mexico. They came up here. There's a common theme between your story, my story, and Andy's story.
So
and
part of it is right.
That really loved and
the parents are number one.
Disciplined us and showed the love for us, basically, with the discipline.
So my wife and I always have this thing over the years where we're like bizarre that both of our groups of parents, never got divorced.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There was this stability.
Yeah.
In our lives, that's very helpful, right? Because growing up with split families is not hard, not easy sometimes.
And people that know my story, and I've talked about it on these podcasts, that's not my wife's story. That's not my mother's story. That's not a lot of people I know's story. And there's impact in that. That's not positive when you see it, even long term impact.
Yep.
When you're far removed from those situations. So, if you're a parent right now and your spouse and you're on your first marriage, make it your only marriage if possible. I'm not saying stay together for the kids. That's dumb.
Next week, this is something I think I call it the vicious cycle of getting married.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Why do people do that? I know where you're going. Let's give them a little teaser. There are some people. I know this. There are worse things in life than being alone. And one of them is being with the wrong person.
Well, that's part of it, right? I think, and today it's tougher than ever because where do you meet a girl or a guy, right?
Yeah.
And so
at a club, on a dating site.
So I've seen this because I have a lot of people, not just my kids, but kids that now they're young adults that I coached. Mm-hmm. In soccer, and I see they tell me this, right? How tough it is to date in this day and age, right? So they go on the apps, right? Then they leave the apps, right? And then there's horrible dynamics from the apps, right? There's some people out there dating people, especially I guess what the guys in my life are telling me. I've had several of them tell me there's literal ladies who will say they want to have that first date with you, so you buy them dinner, and then you never hear from them again, right? And then you're like, what the hell just happened there? And then you read about that, and you go, screw these apps. Yeah. So what's happening is, where do you find someone nice to date, right? So you're down to work, or church. That's where you're at. Yeah. So I have a great app idea that I'll tell you off air that we should work on.
Well, that was fun.
Now we have an app guy in the house.
Hey, I'm very impressed that maybe I should have picked another word, but when you're describing The Godfather, I don't know, because I really searched. I did a little AI. I'm trying to get me help, and it didn't work. Out of here. I've had so much fun about the hover ship this week. AI it's here to stay, baby.
I hope not.
It's here
hope
to
it
stay.
dies.
It's here to stay. It's not going to, Chris.
But that's okay. Like I said, I'm going to be digging graves.
No,
right?
You're not. That's
and
not the way it's going to work.
You and your robot overlords live in the foothills.
That's not the way it's going to work.
Eating robot caviar.
It's not going to work that way, Chris. And you know why?
Eating caviar cinnamon rolls.
Yeah. Caviar sucks, by the way.
It does.
You know what I did twice this week, real quick, wrap it up, do a little plug for La Hacienda. We went early on. I was doing some drop off of the dry cleaners over there at Sparkle, and I'm like, let's run over there and 3:00, there wasn't anybody really in the room.
Yep.
Which is
This
rare.
is First and Tangerine in Oro Valley.
Which is rare. I mean, the place is usually packed.
Yeah, they do a nice job over there.
So yesterday they called. My dry cleaning was done in 24 hours.
Oh, the Mexican restaurant called and said, "Why don't you get back?"
Yeah, and I ran over and I'm like, hey, I took my kid and I'm like, hey, let's run in here and order. Man, that food is on point.
What'd you get?
I don't normally get burritos and stuff like that, which are great. I just got the ground beef enchilada the first day, the shredded beef yesterday. Man.
Look at you. Now, ground beef enchilada for a guy from Southern Illinois, that is on point.
Right
but then you
point.
got fancy with the shredded beef.
Yeah, and I'm a shredded beef guy.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm a shredded beef guy too. And I think that I would prefer the shredded beef a little bit more because that beef holds its flavor maybe a little
here's your
bit
last
more
question. Stereotypical older white person Mexican meal that they order. What do you think?
Probably that. Probably.
Ron Arenas, what do you think in the meat locker? What is the stereotypical older gringo meal that they order at a Mexican restaurant?
It'd probably be like a ground beef burrito or enchiladas.
Yeah.
I think so it's going to be ground beef enchilada, but I think even one step gringo-ish cheese enchilada.
Yeah. I need meat. I need some beef.
I haven't eaten a cheese enchilada in 47 years.
You know what I'm going to get, though, the next time? They've got two things that really intrigue me. They've got a Reuben with some shrimp over there.
Interesting.
In a Mexican, it's being served at a Mexican restaurant. And they also have salmon fajitas.
Interesting.
Now, I got to try that.
There's something about in the world for an American, maybe it's human, the sizzling skillet.
Yeah.
That just gets them excited.
I'm looking at both of those. They got the pictures on the front door, and I'm like, I got to try.
So my girl Raina at Shish Kebab House, which is Jordanian Mediterranean on Broadway in Wilmot, she does something called sizzling chicken, which is kind of like it's like Jordanian fajitas, but it's a lot better than the average fajita. Yeah. And when it comes out, you just see the steam and everything. You're like, oh, this is something.
Yeah.
And we all get excited.
And you know what's so cool? And we were teasing the waitress. Yesterday we got it to go. Which, hey, if you want to beat the crowd, just get it to go.
Sure.
Call ahead. I mean, I don't have to wait. I mean, the place was packed yesterday afternoon. But she sets the plate down. Hey, that's really hot. And I said, I trust you. Because my story is, real quick, we'll wrap it with this. I was telling a lady we were doing a catering gig not too long ago. And I think this is human nature because I told the story and this young lady goes, oh, it happens all the time. I said, hey, that's hot. It will burn you. What's the lady do?
Let me touch that.
She touched it and burned herself and was like, oh, my gosh, that's so hot.
So I had a
and this lady says, the young lady that waited on, she goes, it happens all the time.
It's human nature. I had a friend of mine who was at the Ruth Chris Steakhouse in San Diego, right in the old town there. And he literally burned his finger on their super terrific 900-degree plate.
I was going to say 800, but okay.
And they, quote, whatever their salve that they use for people, they didn't have any. So this guy's sitting with his hand in a bucket of ice while they ran the guy out to Walgreens to get something. It was hilarious. So watch out for those hot plates.
Sour cream. Sour cream will work.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
That's Clint Peak. I'm Chris DeSimone. This is the Working Title Podcast. Ron Arenas, Picture Rocks, heating, cooling, and plumbing. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate all your efforts.
Hey, and one thing before we go, download that Live the Dream Media app so you can get more of the good stuff.
It's in both the Google and the Apple App Store.
Yep.
Google Play, as we like to say.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your probing questions about my childhood.
My pleasure. I think the next time we see each other, it will be the official launch of pumpkin season, won't it?
Yes, it will.
So I think next week is October 1st, I believe. Actually, is on Monday.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it is.
No, that's
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday's
Monday's
October
the 1st. Yeah.
So, all right, we'll be just fine.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for sharing, Chris. Thank you, Ron.
And Ron, thank you. And everyone out there, make sure download the Live the Dream Media app like yesterday. All right, Working Title Podcast out. You guys have an amazing rest of your week.
Be nice to each other.